Welcome everybody to another Jaws Coffee Chat with Jennifer A. Whitaker. I am Emily, the podcast engineer. Our guest for today has not gotten here yet. Mr. Bill Walters out of New Jersey. So until he gets here, hopefully he'll get here next shortly. But I would encourage everybody to check out all of our social media pages and groups and YouTube channel, and to subscribe, share, like, comment, and so on. This show is a part of the World of Ability Podcast Network, and pass over to Jen to say a few words.
Thank you, Emily. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us. If you're just coming in, you're welcome as well. You haven't done anything yet. And we're waiting on Roman. What was his last name?
Bill Walters.
William Walters. We know William Walters, also known as Bill Walters. We will be interviewing him once he's in the room. But as we wait, please be sure to go ahead and like, subscribe, or repost / share our video or podcast wherever you found it. We have others coming up with this today, which is February 24th, 2023. It's very odd. We usually do not have podcast every Friday, but somehow it was a mistake that this particular show ended up on this one. So if you will be with us on March 3rd, we'll be back on track with every other Friday. And everybody, as I was just getting done, you were welcome, Mr. Walters. Come on in.
Hello. How are you?
I'm doing great. Good to see you again, William.
Same here. How's your week been?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that what we all want?
Yeah, I guess. I mean,
Oh, and of
productivity.
course, profitable, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I would want a 30-hour work week. I think in which I could work 30 straight hours and then sleep the rest of the time would be fun.
Oh my gosh, I just feeling like all that. I'll come to the gym. I was like, yeah, this is workout time. Let's go run. Let's go swimming. I race you.
Well, I understand.
Treadmills.
Well, I don't know. The only way I can run on a treadmill
Yeah.
would be if there was a good movie playing in front of me and I was able
So in my
to
gym,
watch
there
it.
is. I was like, see how you've got this video in front of you that you looking at me and yourself. So the screen here, like this is the laptop. When you're standing on the treadmills at my gym, there's a screen like that there to watch anything from your progress to turning on YouTube videos to Pandora's music videos. Or just listening to music and watching the timer go by. You know how you see on like iHeartRadio and Spotify.
Right.
But there's all kinds of stuff you can do on that computer while you're running. That's what it is, to give you something to distract you so you can keep running without, necessarily feeling it beat you up.
I understand. I feel beaten up every day, but that's a story for another time.
Well, it is, but the kind of beating up that comes to the gym, actually they have found in different researches that it causes improvements in the health. I'm not just talking about physical, like the heart and stuff, but even chemically with stuff like my mental health and my neurological brain-related conditions, that they stabilize with physical activity. But it has to be consistent and not just a 5-minute walk from here to the bathroom. Like, you just sit out them, right? It has to be an actual, like, half a mile or whatever, intensive workout where I mean, not so intensive, but a workout where you're actually speed walking or something and trying to do a workout, even if it's only half a mile. But
Oh,
that
I understand.
activity actually, they said, produces the stuff that the brain lacks when you have neurological conditions like I do.
That's awesome, though. If that's true, then I should be perfectly normal and live into my late 80s. That's good.
Are you saying you work out too?
I just got back into it after about a 3.5 year layoff.
Okay, I've got to say, I had worse layoff than that. I was an athlete, and in the Olympics, in the '96 Olympics, I was the gold medal winner of the mile run in '99 and '96, and so I was in the Junior Olympics, which is technically the little kids Olympics, worldwide Olympics. You know what I mean? And anyway, so I won that, but then I went on to go to college, and my parents wanted me working a job in my extra time instead of playing sports. So I was sitting down to study and then working, and I gained a lot of weight within 20 years without working out.
So you were on the actual '96 Olympic team,
The Junior Olympics, which is the Olympic team for the children.
right? What did you ran the mile?
The mile run is what I won the gold medal for, but I also did the hurdles and the high jump.
What was your time in the mile? Do you remember?
It was less than 6 minutes because in my high school, we were required in order to stay on the tennis team, and I was on varsity, that we had to run the mile in less than 7 minutes, or we had to run the second mile.
I
So
understand.
I always pushed in and was competitive, even in the tennis, where it was just workout reasons. It wasn't your actual competition. So I'd get in
Right.
5.5, and that's.
So what would you like to discuss today, Miss Jennifer?
How about introducing yourself? Let's share with everybody what's your name, what geographic area you serve, and what is your professional service that you want people to know as a reason to reach out to you.
Okay. So my name is Bill Walters, and I work for Silver Oak Financial. And the market that I cater to is caretaking of special needs for parents and children so that they can set up a trust. And once they have a trust set up through an attorney, I help them organize how to fund the trust to protect A, the family, and B, the child, so that no one takes advantage of them.
Okay, now speaking of that trust, you say especially need children. How about adults that are on disability, but maybe they didn't know about that when the person was a child, the disabled person?
So when the person crosses the threshold of 18, they would be considered an adult. And if they have not taken advantage of SSI benefits, the trust is very important because the money that they need for their basic daily needs and living expenses can be payable to a trust and then siphoned to them legally to get the services that they're required to do their daily functioning in life. Now, it's a totally legal process because the money's not being paid directly to the adult child or the adult, and that's gives the family peace of mind that things can be handled.
So let's say, for example, that my parents had this trust for me and I ended up on disability, okay? Would it be paid directly to my landlord for a house I rent? Or how would that be that it doesn't touch the hands of the disabled person or the family because it goes to their bills?
So when you have a trust, it's set up and the beneficiary of the trust can be you. It's not paid directly to you. Your bills are paid as directed from the instructions of the trust to the landlord, to the cable TV company, to the wireless phone, to the healthcare company. So
Right, so what is Bill? After the word so, we lost you. Bill, are you with us? Emily, do you still hear me? Emily? 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 All right then, everybody. I guess we got some excitement happening here.
Do we lose Bill?
Yes, we did, and I was trying to reach you because also I see we didn't go live on StreamYard.
Oh, so I keep it back.
But we're also not live on StreamYard.
Yes.
Can you see me or no?
Do you see me? No, you can't. Can you see me? No, you can't.
Here we
Yes,
go.
I do. I'm back picking on you.
Okay, well, I think my best side is when I'm not seen. So,
Okay, so when we were last talking, you were answering my question about whether the money goes to the family disabled, and you started for the bills directly, and you started with the example of it would go to a landlord, it would go to the medical clinic, and all these other things. Okay. Now, where were you going when we lost you?
yeah, I was going with the fact that the importance of a trust is it sets up to the discretion of the creator of the trust through an attorney that all the bills are put into a pot, so to speak, there, and then the daily living expenses, the different activities are legally subtracted from the accumulated funds in that trust on a monthly basis. And then the discretion of what bills get paid is under the creator of that trust. So it's more of taking care of the individual that you love, as well as allowing them to still receive the necessary state aid for their continued service in life. And by service, I mean whatever they're doing to improve the standards and quality, and because we don't know the extent of each individual person, every situation is unique.
And speaking of situations being unique, so there, an example is that, let's say for we were talking about medical doctors, and my mom made a trust for me. Okay. So does she say it's only to pay this certain doctor, or can she say is to pay whatever is my primary care physician at that point in time? Like, how specific do they get in the event that, let's say she said that specific doctor, because that's who she said I work best with, but as I get older and she's gone, then he also passes and I have to change doctor. Would I have a problem seeing a doctor then? Because I'd have to change primary care?
No, because the directive is to pay all necessary medical bills related to the health and well-being of the child. But I think we're getting lost in the forest and the trees here, right? The purpose of the statement is that they need to get set up with a plan, that they need to go through an attorney to have it done legally and right for their state that they live in. And then my purpose is to teach them how to fund it. The actual usage of it is something, and all the specifics that they work out with their attorney. And, or if they don't have an attorney, I can recommend somebody on a board that will be able to handle it for them. But the key is that everything in the standard daily living practices that the creator of the trust wants to be taken care of will be taken care of, and they can't go outside of it. So what that means is that if you suddenly had a fetish for a red Corvette because you like to drive fast cars, and that's not in the discretion of its use, you're not able to pull money out of the trust to pay for that.
Okay, so I guess I'll get in more to the legal and you're more on the budgeting side, right?
I am more on the structuring of how to make the trust work, right? So how you make
So is
it
that more
work.
planning? So is that
It's
more
more
planning than
planning.
legal?
Yep, I'm not the lawyer, right? But I can tell you what should go in it. But again, I'm not the lawyer. So the lawyer just helps you decide what are the rules and regulations for your state. But I'm the person you come to that once you have a legal trust in place, I make sure that the beneficiary in whatever, whether it's a life insurance policy, whether it's a savings plan, whether it's an annuity, whether it's an indexed annuity, that the beneficiary of that annuity is the trust of, right? And then whatever the name is, so that it's payable to that. Now, there's a couple key factors you have to keep in mind. One is that when it's payable to a trust, debts or collections, especially in the case of an insurance policy, the creditors don't have access to it. Okay, so you're protected in that aspect. The other thing is that you kind of want to have a diversified protection plan. Not only do you want to have a trust, but some people who have a disability may be able to still get life insurance on themselves if it is not something that is shortening the duration of their life expectancy, their disability. Okay. That means that each case is ruled individually, and they should see if they have the ability to get coverage of life insurance so that the money can accumulate income tax free as they're waiting for retirement to come aboard. Does that make sense?
Yes, and that's actually on my alley. You know how my background's in accounting, my 2 degrees.
Okay.
So I totally understand that. Now, would you be advising these people, which I know savings is best? And I know you hit another thing, which was that these are great if they're not on Social Security disability. So what about if they are on Social Security disability? Then what would you say to the family members that maybe want to, leave behind what would be more than just their basic necessities to have shopping money or something more than their just $500 a month?
You always want to leave something legally behind in the form of writing. So in a will, and part of the will is to have an estate plan and a trust, 2 separate things, and have in writing under the state rules and guidelines of the state you reside in. That being said, to answer your question, yes, there's always ways to leave something extra for the person as long as it's left to the trust of that person, so they can still receive the benefits for Social Security or disability.
So someone could leave that behind, and then does somebody have both Social Security and access to that trust or savings of some sort?
Correct. They could leave it behind, and there could be an executor or someone that you trust to monitor the savings, the accumulation, and the distribution of funds from that for the person.
So in the event this, like I have an uncle who's on disability, and he's an only child. So when his 2 parents went away, like it passed, he doesn't have family besides my aunt and all of us related to me. So, like in his situation, if someone was an only child, would you say maybe not to open it until they're married or something, and you have somebody to delegate the funds to on his behalf?
No, I would say that the best thing to do in all circumstances is to you got to have the cooperation and the collaboration of three things simultaneously. The first thing is that the person has their faculties about them is to see what their wishes and desires are. And if they don't have family members or close family members or even friends, then you can have a person of authority, like an attorney or an accountant, be the executor of the will or the trust to ensure that that individual's wishes are seen to fruition, right? But in your case, if you're a family member, a trust can be made or be created by an attorney, and the monies can be placed in that for the benefit of your uncle, right? And then the money can be siphoned out of that account to cover daily living expenses from the executor of that trust, or the person who is going to be assigned with the responsibility of distribution of funds.
So in his case, say that my aunt that he's been married to for decades could build up one and say it was someone else in our family, or like you said, a accountant or somebody that she gave the authority to provide him the funds upon certain requests based on what her terms.
Correct, but in all honesty, these type of questions are really left best suited for an attorney in that state, because you're getting into minutia, right? And my job is
I'm just trying to hit what listeners might be thinking.
Yeah, my job is to create a great opportunity to fund the trust and then make sure that the investment in the trust earns either interest or dividends that are profitable, so that it's a viable trust. The attorney's job is to make sure it's secure so it stands up, and that it doesn't have to be fought in the court of law, because the state will recognize the trust in its existence, and therefore it doesn't have to make the matter like the reading of a will public, so it helps with privacy issues. So in this case, we're separating church from state, right? We have
Good way.
Yep.
Look at it.
Yep, right. So we have a lawyer who's making sure that all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. And then you have myself who's making sure that it's funded properly and that people get organized. So it's a two-pronged process, but necessary to do it separately.
Now, what would you advise for someone who's on disability but can make decisions for themselves? They can't work, but they're clear enough minded and authorized to make their own spending decisions. Like, is there a way they could put so much of their disability check into the savings, or what's in it for them?
Well, it's kind of a loaded question, because I don't know the circumstances of whether their parents are around or their guardians are around, but I'm going to assume that there's no one of elder statesmanship in their life, and then they're kind of on their own. Is that a safe assumption with that question?
It is, but
Okay.
then I want to know, in the event that they do have somebody around, what would be the different answer?
Okay, well, the primary answer for someone who is receiving Social Security or disability income is that they need to, I would tell them, they need to sit down with an advisor, look at their monthly bills, see what income they have coming in, and see what's left over for excess, right? And if there isn't any excess income, well, then you then have to go down a different road they're not really allowed to receive money directly over a certain amount, and it's different, it varies by state. Suffice it to say that it's a different scenario if they have someone of authority, whether it's a parent or a guardian, that's still looking out for their best interest, at that point, if that person wants to earn extra income, or if the parents or guardian want to fund their daily living expense, it should be funded in a trust so they don't lose their eligibility for SSI or disability income.
That's great. That's great to know because, you know, since we worked with the abilities, the World of Abilities podcast as part of their partnership, even though we're our own Paul Jones Coffee Chat podcast, a lot of the people who listen could be in those boats. You don't know if when they're hearing this and that maybe they're thinking about calling you, Bill Walters, then you don't know if they could be an adult. Are they getting it? And if maybe some of them, their family is around, or maybe they're around but really sick, or that they're gone. Like they could be in all kinds of situations. There could be all kinds of people with disabilities listening, you know, because that's what the World of Abilities is all about, is reaching out to that particular group of people.
Yeah, since there's a couple of factors to keep in mind that when in doubt, always consult with an attorney who knows the laws of the state, A. But B, if they're looking to augment their income in any way, I'm always going to recommend that they find an attorney with a heart, someone that can do a very inexpensive trust for them, just to take precautionary measures, because you never know if their mind comes up with a great idea and they utilize it and it earns money for them or income, or if they're put into a situation where they are able to earn residual income from everyday bills that they're paying anyway, that they could have those bills be payable and that profit from that venture be payable to a trust. And so then someone else would manage it for them. And that's really the key. It's that big circle. If you have a trust established and you earn extra income, it can go into the form of the trust because they're not receiving the money directly. And then their extra expenses over and above their SSI can be funded from that fund.
What if that extra income was passive? Like say from book royalties or renting a housing of some sort, but they don't manage, but they get, you know, so they have a management company, right? So it's passive income.
Well, my advice is going to be the same one that I've been talking about, which is to create a trust, have it in that name, and have the payable royalties or passive income coming in directly to that trust, and then have distribution by somebody who knows what they're doing or who is a trusted partner for them. Whether it could be an attorney, it could be an accountant, it could be a family member. Just make sure that the payments are not, or the trust is not made payable to the family member, because the family member might not be a great money decision-making person. They just might be kind with a good heart, and they don't have the wherewithal to manage money properly.
That's very true. How many of Americans are in debt, you know, because they didn't manage collect what's their income?
Right. So the standard rule of thumb is that you don't buy anything unless you can pay it off at the end of the month, right? Now, what does that mean? It means I'm not referring to a car and I'm not referring to a house. What I'm referring to is just your expenses or what you're buying. And if you create too much of an expense, you don't have the ability to pay it off at the end of the month, then maybe you should be buying it. So that's, don't do foolish spending or whim spending or emotional spending.
I even say don't do non-essential spending. Yep. I mean, how many people have seen something and they want it because whatever about the beauty of it when they looked at it, they wanted it. If they hadn't seen it, they wouldn't have wanted it, which means they didn't really need it.
Yep, yep. And I would say that it's almost like you have to put blinders on when you're on the internet, and you stay focused on your task at hand, or when you're at a checkout line at a grocery store or a clothing store, and then they have you walk through a circular aisle with items on either side of it, and you know that they're impulse purchases. So you kind of have to just walk through
And
there and
that's
say,
the
no, no,
company,
no.
right? That's the company thriving off those impulses.
Yes. Well, guess what? Avoid them, because 9 times out of 10, you're not going to need that product anyway. So save your money.
Right. And one thing I told a lot of people, this goes back to my accounting background, is if you can't afford $100 item, how are you going to afford $110 item, which is that item with 10% tax? I mean, not tax, but like interest because it's on a credit card.
Correct. It's
So if you
just,
can't buy it in cash, see if you can move it to another month if it's something you need.
well,
But
the art of saving. So if you want, back in the day, if you wanted a nice stereo, or you wanted a boom box, but you knew that your monthly disposable income, you couldn't afford it, you had to set it aside or put it into a shoebox, right? And then when you accumulate enough money in that shoebox, you were able to go to the store and pay cash for it.
only now it's a bank account with the same concept. Even if it's a not checking, but savings account, once you put that $10 a month until you have that $100 for the piggyback
Well,
or whatever.
if someone is savvy and they know how to have multiple savings accounts or multiple checking accounts, right? And they know how to divide their money, yes. But if they're not so savvy, or if they're given a cash, suppose it was Christmas and then their birthday, right? And so they got back-to-back gifts, and it was cash, and they didn't want to spend it. They could put it into a shoebox and save it for a rainy day or something they really wanted, right? And then pull that money out, and then they have that availability. Or if they're saving for a vacation, right?
You got me figured out. I actually have a lot of family members that give me gift cards to my favorite stores, but it's Bath and Body Works, Tom Hilfiger, like all these things I love to buy, but I don't necessarily need. And if I do not have a certain type of clothing I need, I have an actual business envelope that I use like a wallet because it's got pockets, and I stash all my different gift cards in there. And that's where I go if I find something I need. And I say, okay, this is a hoodie I need. So this is for Tommy Hilfiger gift card. Oh, here's one. Now I'm going to spend this. But when I didn't need it, then it's like what you said, we're like stashing it away, right?
Yep.
We're not spending it out of the impulsive spending. Since I have it, I must spend it idea.
So I'm going to ask you a question and see if you get this right. Okay.
All right, let's try it.
What is the standard insurance practice of savings? What percentage of your monthly or weekly or bi-monthly income do you need to put away into some form of savings?
So at different points in history, they have gone from anywhere from 10% to 30% of your monthly income should be put into savings, depending on what kind of situation it is. And based off of the economics, because in a high crisis time like the pandemic, it's 30.
Yep. So 10 is taboo right now. So they want you to save a minimum of 15%, and that makes you a good saver or an average saver. An optimum saver, one that is looked upon very favorably in the marketplace, is someone that sets aside 20%. And then an elite optimum saver is someone that saves above 20%. So that 25 or 30%, wow, that's really remarkable. And that's really the direction you should be heading towards, so that you set aside a rainy day fund and an emergency fund, and then part of it, and part of that is also saving for your retirement, but not in those two funds.
And what I was gonna say is, based off that, then it really should be at all points more than 30% of our income. Because we have the 10% for this, 20% for that, that already is 30% of our income saved somewhere for something. So in reality, are we talking about 50% of our income should be saved, rather a certain amount of it is to retirement, and another amount is to rainy day, and another amount is, say, the vacation or something? So are we talking about really a bigger percentage needs to be saved, but just different amounts, different reasons?
It depends on people's realistic cost of living, right? So if you're living in California and a postage stamp of a house is running you $400,000, and that same postage stamp of a house in, say, Wyoming is going to run you $125,000, it's a different standard of living, right? Different cost for the house, different taxes. So it depends
But
on.
in some cases, that's pretty equivalent, because also the income in that example of being in Wyoming would be a lot less than in California for the same job.
Correct. Theoretically, but suppose they're working from home and they don't have to go into an office, right? So they could relocate to an area that's less expensive and still have a California or New York or Chicago or Atlanta salary, right? And then
Then you would like my best friend Ed, because he lives in the Houston area, where back when we first moved here in '92, you could pay $125,000 for a 4-bedroom house. And anyway, so if that tells you how much more affordable it is in Texas, at least Houston. He is local to me in the same suburb of Houston as myself, and we go to breakfast all the time. But his job is in LA. He does remotely. He's a medical doctor, but he specifically practices radiology because it's the type he can do remotely.
Yes, he's my hero.
Mine too.
Yes, that's awesome.
But he, even though being a medical doctor and even having 4 specialties, which he makes more than just a regular medical doctor, right? He has a car he's driven for 10 or 12 years, and he's so amazingly frugal. He's like, well, it hasn't given me any problems. Maybe a here or there, and I fix that one part, but the car keeps running. Other than a few here and there things, like we have to oil change, or might have to one time in 10 years get some new part replacement. He's like, but other than these few things, it cost me a few $100s. Keeps running, so what's the point in buying a new car? So it's not like I care about staying up with the fashion of cars and being in debt.
Well, he's correct. I mean, the object is to get a car and pay it off, and then try to get at least a year or two out of it where you're not making any payments, and then taking that difference that you're used to paying and redirect that or repurpose it into something useful.
But what I think catches people when it's on top of cars is how many times once it's 6 years old. Let's say they did a 5 or 6 year payment term, right, on the lease. No, not lease, but the loan, the life of the loan. Then usually after 6 years, especially if they're Houstonian, where they travel an hour and a half drive to work from one side of Houston to another, that after 6 years of 5 days a week doing that trip to and from work, it doesn't even run anymore. And that's why they end up with often a car, at least local here, that's 10 years old. We're spending about that $200 to $300 just to constantly repair parts.
Yep. So, but it all comes down to individual circumstances again. So when you're talking about savings and being frugal or being penny wise, it comes down to personality and temperament, right? And so, and everyone likes to spend money on something that is their guilty pleasure, right? Everybody has a weakness. no matter what it is, right?
That's
So,
so true. Some of ours
Yeah.
are more affordable than others, but we all have.
correct. So, and I'm not saying not to enjoy life. What I'm saying is that there's a time and place for everything. But if your weakness is a famous donut shop's jelly donut, right? And you know you can have it, and it costs $5 for that donut, and you really like it. It doesn't mean that you buy 4 of them, right? Just you buy one and you enjoy and you relish the flavor of the one, right? And then you go work out the next month.
If in that case, that buying the 4 means that the other 3 are going to waste, so you waste some money that you're gonna actually throw away as bad donuts or whatever those were.
Oh, no. Well, no, in that example, you would eat the other 3, gain the weight, and you miss the point of the specialness of the donut, right? Because the donut you need. So you eat 1 and you relish the flavor of the 1. You don't eat 4. Now, if you're buying 4 and you're giving 3 away to either someone else in the store or somebody that's homeless, or bringing it home for others to share, perfectly okay. Because you're just having 1, right? And you're only going there once a month, it's all good.
True.
So what other questions do you have for me, Miss Jennifer? Or is it my turn to ask you questions?
Pick your fight.
Well, I like, looks like I'm frozen again.
Yeah, your screen keeps doing that. You keep just getting frozen in different positions. Your voice is coming through well. But
Yeah.
it's, I don't know, something about you keep freezing as far as the camera, but not any interruption in your sound.
Right, well, that's good. Well, the last thing froze on me smiling, so that's a good thing. So,
Why do I feel like you're gonna call that a plastic smile?
no plastic smile. Did you,
I'm just kidding, that's funny.
so since our last conversation, have you purchased a racket for pickleball?
No.
Okay. I am
That's
challenging
you about spending?
No, it's not that expensive. You can get a pickleball racket.
I said that picking on me about my spending. What we were just talking
No.
about.
No, I think you should go get a pickleball racket so that just to be prepared for the next time that we're within 30 miles instead of 300 miles of each other, that I can challenge you to a game.
Trying to get in my gym first if they let you in. That's where I play pickleball and they supply us with rackets.
They do. All right.
Yeah,
Well,
part of the subscription to the gym is that they supply, like, you don't play basketball, they've got the court. And they've got the, multiple balls for different people shooting around, and they have delegated times for people to come and make 2 teams to have a game. So I don't even have to have that kind of stuff with the gym I use.
so if you're afraid to come and meet me at Fort Worth, for whatever reason that may be, I'm sure that I can figure out time to come to Houston to make sure that I give you a fair challenge in your pickleball game.
Depends. If you're in Fort Worth, how far are you from Denton, where my sister lives? I just might fly to her house and meet you somewhere in Denton.
I don't think Denton and Fort Worth are that far apart.
No, Denton is North Dallas, but
Yeah.
a lot of people say Fort Worth and they mean like the really far, west side that's say
So-
2 hours from Denton,
The convention I'm going to is at the Dallas Convention Center.
Okay, so you're gonna be more so in the Dallas area than the Fort Worth, right?
Yep.
Okay, then you're probably anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour from my sister's house.
Perfect. Now
What
we're
weekend are you
cooking with
going?
gas. I will be there the second weekend in March.
Okay. Oh, that's spring break.
Well,
I'll
I'm
ask
not there
Whitaker
for
if he can
spring.
go- asked my stepmom Audrey and if we can go to Sissy's house for spring break. Hey, Audrey, I just got to realize I really have to get out of here and go to Lisa's house. I gotta game. I gotta go to a different Lifetime gym to play a game.
Oh, you're a Lifetime Fitness member. Okay.
Yeah.
You're allowed a guest.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like every 60 days, the same person can come.
Yeah, well, in this case, it would just be one day.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be at the one in Louisville because that's the closest one to her house.
So, all right, well, put it on your agenda. I think I'm there from the 4th through the 7th.
Of March, right?
Yeah.
Wait, the 4th through 7th, that's not spring break. Wait, I thought you meant the 13th. The week of the
No.
13th, that's spring break. Oh
No.
man, I thought we had a deal. Dang it. Wow, I thought we actually had something.
Well, all right, we'll work on it. I mean,
So Friday is the 3rd. I have some appointments, some of them are medical, and others are my podcast and stuff like that. There's different stuff I can't change the time. But I don't know. I'll have to ask my parents what they're talking about is when we go see our family members up there again.
okay,
Because we jump
Please do.
once a month. I just don't know what's the weekend of the March visit.
okay.
You got my
Either
number?
way. Do I have what?
You have my number?
It's 876-5309.
That's the 90s.
Yes. You like that, didn't you?
Yes. My age is showing.
Yeah, you can text it to me offline, or you can put it in the chat.
Bill, to both of you,
Yeah.
I did do a group text with all 4 of our numbers.
Oh.
So both of you should have each other's phone number.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you, Emily.
Where is Emily in this interview? How come she's not appearing?
She's hiding.
Emily, you hiding for real?
I was actually in another meeting until just a few minutes ago.
Okay, because it wouldn't be a meeting without me trying to embarrass you at least a little bit, right?
Of course it wouldn't be.
Good one.
Okay.
We have to get Bill on our comedy one with Sandy. It's so them cracked up. They're both comedians.
So, Emily,
Yes, Bill.
how's your Friday going? Good?
So far, so good.
That's good. Okay. I'm actually going to not do my standard line of making that announcement about, if you're in Madison, Wisconsin.
Okay.
And yeah, I won't do that for you this time. I'm going to give you a day off from it, but it will be
Okay, thank
available
you.
for the next interaction.
Okay.
Well, would you first, we're at our last 4 minutes, Bill. Would you close with your name, phone number, website, email, whatever information that listeners and viewers can use to contact you if they're interested in your services?
Sure, I appreciate that. So my name is Bill Walters. I work with Silver Oak Financial. My email address is BillW at Silver SILVER Oak OAKFS.com. My website is www.https:// perfectly imperfect families info@whitaker.com. And to get in hold of me on InPhone, it's https://infone, INPHONE.co, then another /WJW. Now, Emily has all these things. She could probably post it in some positive way to the people that are either watching or will be watching.
That'd be great.
I know that she's capable of doing it. And if she doesn't do it, then I'll just destroy her on our next podcast together and make her get all blushy.
If you haven't already done so already, Bill. And within the last couple of weeks.
Yes, I know. I've
I
been
think he's having a
bad.
bit fun. He's having fun picking on you, Emily. And he knows he picked on me too, so it's not just you.
Yeah, well, I only pick on people I like, right? So
Oh, so the comical side of you is a comedy and a compliment to share.
that's correct. It's only done for enjoyment purposes only. Look, I even got a smile out of him. Yes. See,
Every other Friday, this is like March 3rd, this next Friday. Every other Friday, and that being the next one, I have Sandy Bowler, who is a comedian, and also a musician, who also has a live theater as part of his business. And anyway, so his different stuff is live every other Friday. So I think possibly she can come next Friday, that's March 3rd, on here, or 2 Fridays from that, whichever one's better, that we could really get some comedy going between you and Sandy, and it'll fit his comedy show.
oh my. Well, I'm not really that funny though. I just like to have a good time. So I'd be happy to join you anytime. And have it.
Laughing, you are comical.
Well,
You took
when you
that
deal
away.
when you deal in my world of finance and you have to be serious all the time, when you have the ability to cut loose and have some fun with people, you take advantage of it, right? So you can be serious about the things that require seriousness, and then you can go and enjoy life. So if you want me to be a part of something, I'm happy to join. Just remind me via text or phone call, or put it in my calendar, and I'll make sure I show up.
Sounds great. Emily, can you try to do that for not this coming Friday, but 2 away with Bill? And our Friday show, that's Follow Your Hearts, to Follow Your Dreams.
Yeah,
And if it works in the schedule, add Bill to it's 2 weeks from the 3rd of March.
sounds good.
All right, then. Would you like to close our show then, Emily? Because I think we're near time.
Anybody have any announcements?
That's directed to us.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, she does. Hey, I designed it. Come on. Do you have any announcements, Bill?
I know that Helpopedia is doing a special needs conference, that's a virtual conference on the 22nd of March at 7:00 at night, that we're aware of, and we could put that information in the chat as well, or at future episodes. But it's available to everyone, and there's no cost to it. So people, whether you have autism or not, if you have a child with special needs or not, the services that are offered are there to help other people. And the podcast is free and the attendance is free.
And for everybody out there, that's 7 p.m. Eastern. Six p.m. Central,
Yep.
in case anybody was wondering.
And then I just have one announcement, and that's that Aspire Women for Excellence Bible study is no longer going to be on Meetup. They're now found at awe.wixsite.com. But AWE as in Aspire Women for Excellence .wix WIXSITE.com. And you will see what looks like a video, and it says in cursive Aspire Women for Excellence. Then it has different pop-up information and different Bible related stuff. It's basically ministry, but also for networking and fellowship and so forth related to women of faith. But this is targeted towards women. Anyways, but that's the update on the Aspire Women for Excellence.
Do you have to be a female to attend it?
Yes.
Excluded again. Unbelievable. So unfair.
Hey, white men are the majority. This big deal about lack of equality is because white men have to believe in the favoritism that women don't have. Like how my stepmother, she was paid $100,000 less per year for the same job that a white man did, even though she had the equal title. Because she's a woman and Latino, she was paid $100,000 less per year.
Okay, well, when it
There
comes
is
to
inequality that's in that case between the fact that she's Latino and the fact that she's a woman, she wasn't paid as well. And there's a very big difference. So
oh no,
white men
I'm
have
not
to-
disagreeing. I'm not disagreeing with that, right? What I'm saying is that when it comes to the eyes of God, right? I would,
That's what
anytime
it's
there's
about, because
any opportunity to worship, right? Any opportunity to worship amongst friends, like people that would make worship enjoyable, I like to participate, right? So I was getting all excited.
Hey, I don't need it. I'm just their sponsor.
So I would attend it, but now I know that I can't attend. So I got all excited and now I can't go because I would have gone to that.
Well, it's Aspire Women for Excellence. It's, I don't know, the Lady Kendra, you can look her up. The name is Lady Kendra, LADYKENDRA. You'll see she's a public figure. She's a female. She made it for women only. She said there's something about women need to come together in a way that only women understand. I don't know, but it's her ministry. I'm just a fan of hers, and I support her with service as well as financially.
I understand. I'm not making fun or jest of A, the inequality, or
You
B,
sure don't seem to be happy because you're a man.
I'm disappointed because I wanted to go and do Bible study and do something different, right? But now I have to find another Bible study to attend. That's okay. I'm going to take my bye.
You're gonna let the show in, Bill.
Oh no, I can let it end. Emily, you want to end it? You want to call it and pull the plug?
Sure, yes.
Yes, because you look bored over there. So thank you.
I am not,
Thanks a lot.
Bill, with you, I am not bored. But anyway, would like to thank you both for coming on. And again, and thank everybody who tuned in. And again, to check out our social media. We are here every other Friday. Starting next week, March 3rd. And so encourage everybody to join us when your schedule allows. And at the same time, so every other Friday at 3 p.m. Central, 4 Eastern. And special thanks to Marcus Hart of Transforming Media, Chase Dolan of the Disability Channel, and Zach Clayton on the Pick Channel for allowing us to be on their platform. And so on behalf of myself, Jen, John, Kurt, and the rest of the World of Ability Podcast Network, I wish you a safe and productive week and to stay happy.
Okay, the broadcast is over, right?